Hey, how's it going everyone? Welcome back to Keeping Fish Simple. So in today's video we're going to be doing another full fish room tour. Now, yes, I know I've been making a ton of fish room tours and update videos lately, and basically you guys, if you can't tell, I've been super busy building this thing, so that's why they're super easy to make. I just have to go around and show you guys basically what I've got going on, and you guys seem to love them. So basically, yeah, in today's video I'm going to be showing you guys my whole entire fish room. In here I've got 45 2-foot tanks and I think 18 4-foot tanks, so quite a lot of stuff. I've got tons of different Corydoras, Angelfish, Dwarf cichlids, Plecos, like you name it, I've got it pretty much. So I do a lot of the small species. I don't have huge fish. I've got a lot of little nitty, tiny things, but lots of cool stuff in this fish room. I want to apologise for the last video I made. The lighting was a bit bad. We've just upgraded the lighting to brand new floodlights, so hopefully today's video is going to be a bit better than the last one. You guys are going to get to see all the fish in their entirety. So without any further ado, let's get started. Okay, so we're going to switch over to my iPhone camera now. This is going to be a little bit more different. The sound's probably going to have changed, so bear with me here. But we're going to start off with the fry system because I think that this is going to be one of the more interesting things in this video and something that I don't want you guys waiting till the end to see. So there's going to be timestamps in this video so you guys can go and check like where things are within the video. But this is the fry system now. This is very similar to the fry system that Dean from Dean's Fish Room uses. He's all over Aquarium Co-op's channel, and basically, yeah, I've borrowed his idea and I've kind of used it the way I was going to do it. And the way he does it is he's with these trays. Now these are just like fridge trays. These are just what you can buy like in your Tupperware stores and things like that, with a bit of bolt stuck onto them so that they can be suspended above the water with a bit of hole and a sponge covering up. And I've filled up quite a few of these little things already. So these are my fry incubators. Now there's an air system that goes into these. So there's an air pump up here which pumps air into these things, and there's also water pumps on each one, so you can see the water pump down below which keeps putting water in here, and basically means that we eliminate something that often we have trouble with when we're keeping fry, and that's successfully rearing them up from when they're very early. So we've taken out one of the big things, which is normally the water quality, which kills them. So we've taken that out of play, and now it's just about feeding them and making sure they're getting the right food. So in here we've got a ton of dwarf neon rainbow babies. These are just from the first batch that I've got. We've got some albino cory eggs. You guys can see these have just started to hatch. So, and of course they're in the shadows, but you guys can see right there in the middle of the screen some little albino corydoras. So that's really cool. Then we go over to this basket. We've got 2 black ram fry that I've had survive because apparently moving fry between facilities is very hard. So we've only got 2 survivors from there. So hopefully my black rams breed again, but they're hidden in here somewhere. In here we've got some orange flash Cacatuoides fried. Now these guys, there's about 15 of them. They were my first spawn, so I've had these for a couple of days now and they're doing really well. Haven't had a single loss because the parents reared them up, so I separated them from the parents and they're doing phenomenally, so you guys can see how cute they are. Super, super cool fish. I absolutely love dwarf cichlids and Apistogrammas. And then the last one over here, we've got some more albino Corydoras eggs. They've been popping off lately. Tons and tons of them. We've also got a few Trilineatus Corydoras eggs in here, but not as many as I'm hoping for, so we're waiting for them to get up to a bit of a mature age to start breeding and doing their thing. So here's the system. We've got like a floodlight up here just to provide us with a bit of light, and yeah, in my opinion it looks really, really good. It's been working great. I haven't had any troubles with it so far. It's just really, really good system, and shout out to Dean for coming up with such a good idea. This thing works absolutely great. You're gonna have to bear with me here because the glare can be a bit bad on my iPhone, so yeah, you can see me up there. But this is a brand new pickup for me, and these are my fire gold Agassizi eyes. So I got a pair of these guys. I've got a male and a female. You can see the females there on the right and the males on the left. Now they are so gold that the camera and the light picks up on them so well, and it creates that weird look. So the fish doesn't look like that. It's just super, super exposed because of how bright the fish naturally is. So kind of weird. You don't have that issue with a lot of fish. That's how bright they are. They're a super, super cool fish. They're just an Agassizi eye. So they're a dwarf cichlid. Very similar to the Cacatuoides, but they're a bit different. They breed the same way and everything like that though. So hopefully I'll have a lot of success breeding these guys, and they're a really, really cool fish. They can be pretty dear in a lot of places, so you got to kind of watch your bank account here because these guys can cost quite a bit, up to $100 Australian a pair. But I got these guys pretty cheap. I got very, very lucky, so super happy to have picked these guys up. They're super cool. Yes, I need to get a coconut cave in here, but I just literally haven't had the time to build one, so that'll be happening within the next week. And then we'll move on over to another cool tank, and this is my tank with my Glowlight Danio. So I've got 5 of these guys, and in my previous video, if you've watched it, I would have mentioned that these guys can be very, very pricey, so that's why I only got 5. They can cost up to 20 bucks a piece here in Australia, but obviously in some other places they can be a little bit cheaper. Now the reason they're so expensive is because, one, they're pretty hard to breed. They're not breeding for me yet. I'm trying to do a lot of pH dropping, and I'm trying to do pH rising and seeing out what works with these guys, but that's the first reason. And the second reason is that they are not allowed to be imported into Australia, so that can become very, very expensive when you can't get a constant supply of these guys overseas. And basically any that are in Australia are in Australia now, and like, unless they're smuggled in. So I've got 5 of these guys in this aquarium. We've got one weird one that just always hides when I come around, but he's absolutely got nothing wrong with him, so he's just super, super shy. But these other ones, super sporty. They're going to be put into a tank with some peat, and I'm going to try and breed these guys like I did with my neon tetras, and hopefully we'll have a bit of success with them. And then coming on down to here, we've got my Sterbai Corydoras tank. So these are my 5 adult Sterbai Corydoras. You guys can see how big they are. They're super, super meaty, and hopefully they start breeding for me soon. I still need to get a ton of sand to put in all of my Corydoras tanks because I haven't got any yet. But these guys are super cool. They're a very common Corydoras. A lot of people keep them, and they're not too hard to breed from what I've heard. So I'm looking forward to giving these guys a good crack and trying to get them to spawn very, very soon. I've been feeding them a ton of protein, so hopefully they're going to start breeding for me soon. But you know, it's never that easy breeding fish in the aquarium hobby. Sometimes you're going to run into a lot of challenges, especially when you're breeding as many fish as I'm trying to do. So a very, very cool fish. And then down here, we've got another fish that is super cool that I just picked up recently as well. And these are my Bandit Corydoras. So I haven't seen these guys around in Australia much. They're around a lot of the places, but I just haven't seen them personally, and these guys are super cool. So I've got 6 of them. They've got a lot of growing to do before they start doing any breeding. And yes, they kind of just look a bit like a Panda Cory, except cost quite a bit more. So you don't have to tell me they do look exactly like a Panda Cory, but they're a super cool Corydoras. A lot of personality compared to the Panda Corys. These guys are quite personable from what I've seen, and not shy at all when I'm around, especially with the camera going in their face. So another super cool Corydoras. And then up here we've got a tank full of dwarf neon rainbows. These are just my breeding stock. I've talked about these guys a ton on my channel. There's a ton of videos for you guys to go and watch. So they pretty much speak for themselves. A super beautiful fish, especially under these new lights. They look absolutely great. I absolutely love this fish. I've kept them for years now. I've only just got back into breeding them, so happy to be breeding these guys. You guys can see, I mean, the rainbow colors off of them is just so good. Yeah, they really make me geek out. They're such a cool fish. So I actually bred all of these ones. These were my first ones that I bred, so I decided to keep them as breeding stock. I've got another colony in another tank in here, and I'm going to be crossing them over with each other in the near future. Up in this tank we've got some new additions, and they're very, very shy additions, and these are my double red Agassizi Apistogrammas. Now there's a male and supposedly a female, but she doesn't look too much like a female. It looks more like a male, so I'm not really too sure. These guys are very similar to the fire golds that I just showed you before. They're very, very similar. They're both Agassizi Apistogrammas, so very, very cool fish. I can't wait to start breeding these guys soon. But I think this is the male in front of me, and then the female is... And there's supposedly the female. Now you guys can be the judge of that, whether that's actually a female. Only time will tell, but I'm hoping that's a female so I can breed these guys very, very soon. And if you guys have been around the channel for a while, you'd be very familiar with this pair of rams. These are my black rams. These are the original ones, and these are the ones that had babies for the first time. Now they have not bred since. I've been trying very, very hard, but they just don't seem to be keen on each other. So this is the female here, and the male's at the back. Now I've been trying to do everything I can to entice them, and there's just been no real spawning going on or anything like that. She doesn't seem too keen, and he doesn't seem too keen either. So I'm not too sure what's happening with these guys, but hopefully I get some breeding out of these guys because there's a huge demand and all of you guys really want them. And you can see there's some of the behavior there, but it just doesn't seem to be breeding behavior at the moment. I don't know whether it's courting or what it is, but they just haven't been too keen on each other. So hopefully these guys start to breed, but it's not all over yet. There's good news, and you guys will find out what that good news is in a second. And then down here we've got a pair of koi angels. Now these are my breeding pair. They haven't bred yet. They've been settling into this aquarium, and hopefully they're going to start breeding soon. But I bred these guys. They made all of the koi angels that I made previously at the start of the year. So hopefully these guys start going and I can start breeding them up like in crazy amounts again. But her papilla's out, so hopefully she's going to start laying eggs soon. And he seems to be a little bit more keen, and they've been getting more used to this aquarium. So they've got the tile there. Hopefully they get tempted and start laying some eggs and making some fry. And then down here we've got a very, very cool fish. These guys are some Skunk Corydoras. Now these are supposed to be wild caught. I only picked these guys up yesterday. They came in very, very skinny. Yes, they are super, super skinny and super tiny, but we shouldn't have any problems trying to rear these guys up. Now, they've been eating some frozen bloodworms and a couple of little pellets and stuff like that, but because they're wild fish, they do take quite a bit of time to settle in. So I need to get some sand in here ASAP to get these guys going, but there's 6 of them in this aquarium. Hopefully they start to liven up a bit more, and yeah, they're a very, very cool looking fish. They're just not doing much right now because of how shocked they are, so hopefully with a bit of time they settle in and start to put on some size and eat some good food. And here's the good news you guys were waiting for. There are some more black rams that I found. I picked up 6 of these guys yesterday from an aquarium store that somehow managed to get them in. Now, these guys are obviously not as black as the ones that I have, and hopefully they're going to start to become a little bit more black, but I picked up 6 more of these guys. You guys can see they are black. They're definitely not German blue rams. Hopefully these guys get a little bit more dark, and then hopefully I can breed these guys and hopefully get some more dark night rams, because the story is basically these guys are related to the dark night rams. They just have different colors, so they have some of that dark night ram blood in them, but you just need to breed them to get a couple of the dark nights going. So they are very, very cool. I absolutely love the rams now. I haven't kept rams for so long and just got back into it and found these guys, and it looks like they're already trying to court and choose spots to breed, so hopefully we see some breeding very, very soon. And then I've just got a tank full of Apistogramma Cacatuoides double reds. These guys are just some grow outs. They need to go into a bigger tank very soon, and this tank does need to clean, but they're all good for now. They're super lively, super active. Some colour coming through, but not the greatest, so big yawn there. A couple of good looking males, some females there. I've been getting a lot of females because these guys were raised up in tanks that were very, very cold, so apparently you get more females. And that's been the case, so we've got a few males. Hopefully these guys will be for sale very, very soon. And then down here we've got some black angelfish. Now these guys are a super cool addition. They're growing out and they're going to start to be put into tanks that are a bit bigger, like you can see behind me, to start pairing off very, very soon as they've gotten a little bit bigger, but they're super hard to pick up on camera, and I don't know how they're going to go demand-wise, because, I don't know, people don't seem to like black fish. They like blue fish and colourful fish, but they don't seem to like black fish as much as I think they do. So these guys, super cool. I just picked them up maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago, and they've settled in really, really well. Yeah, they're just literally a black angelfish, not much else to say. And here we've got another pair of koi angels. These guys, again, were one of the original pairs that I had at home, so these guys were breeding and making me a ton of babies, and same story for these guys as the other ones. Hopefully they start breeding soon. They were breeding originally, and I mean, she's full of eggs and her papilla is coming out as well, so hopefully he gets the idea and they start to breed on one of those tiles. We've got some very, very timid fish up here. These guys are a pair of electric blue rams. Now these guys are a pair because they chose this side of the tank and they didn't start to breed, but they were fighting off everyone like they were going to breed. So they've been a bit timid since I took all the other fish out, and they're just settling in, but hopefully the male on the right hand side breeds with that female on the left, and we get some fry going, because maybe it's the other way around. I think the male's down below and the female's up above, but I do need these guys to start breeding so I can start to give them to the local fish store, because these guys are not cheap as well. A lot of the rams that in Australia are quite dear compared to where they are across the world, so hopefully these guys start to breed very, very soon as well. And then up in this tank we've got some platinum rams. So these guys, they're so bright that the camera has such a hard time picking them up. So these are the platinum rams. You guys can see them a bit better here. Hopefully these guys start to breed very soon. I'm trying to get a pair of these guys. I only got 4 of them, and they're in this tank with a bunch of L333 chocolate zebra plecos, which never come out ever. They're super hard to find, but there's like 10 or 12 of these guys in here. There's 2 spare neon tetras, which I haven't taken out yet. They need to go back into my original colony, but super boring tank at the moment. Nothing's really happening in here. And here we've got another colony of dwarf neon rainbow Praecox rainbows. These guys are the second colony that I have. These are the second bloodline. I'm going to be mixing these guys with my original bloodline very soon. I picked these guys up from a wholesaler, and they've been making a ton of babies as well. There was actually a ton of fry in one of the driftwood pieces that I put in another aquarium, and I've been raising them up, so they've been very prolific. They're waiting to get their spawning mop back as I've been hatching out the spawning mop that they bred in for a couple of weeks there. So I'm guessing that whole entire back mat and filter is probably covered in eggs at the moment, because they've got nowhere to spawn besides there. And then a tank that has been very prolific for me is this tank full of Albino Corydoras. So these guys are just the Aeneas. They're super prolific. They breed almost every day. and you can see how huge the females are. There's quite a few males in here, but there's some huge fat females. I mean, like, I always do the thumb comparison, but they're big girls. So they've been laying a ton of eggs. I've been, you know, taking advantage of that and raising up a ton of these guys, but they're nothing special. They're just very common Corydoras, but giving me a lot of experience breeding Corydoras just from these guys. And then in the next tank over, we have a ton of black Venezuelan Corys, which are very close to breeding size. They have gotten a little bit of white under them over time, so they're not a fully black fish, but another really cool Corydoras. They need a bit of sand in this aquarium, and they also need some overcover. So if anyone of you guys has some Java moss that you can send me, please let me know, because I've not been able to find any Java moss lately. Another super cool fish. I absolutely love these guys. I actually picked them up quite a while back, and they've settled in really well to me taking care of them. They're just a bit shy when I'm around, so yeah, super cool fish. And then we can come to my L201 Orinoco Angel aquarium. So these guys are up in the top by themselves. There's 6 of them. I've been growing these guys out for maybe 4 months now. They're always hiding, but they're a fish that speaks for themselves. They're just a polka dot pleco. Super cool. These guys are mostly carnivorous, so they like to eat a lot of like little pellets and grub pie, rapashi grub pie, and all kinds of meaty foods. And they also will take a little bit of green stuff, but I tend not to feed them too much green stuff because they are a high pancistrus. So a super cool fish. Like I said, I got 6 of them. They're getting quite big now. I don't know, they're probably still maybe I'd say a year and a half to 2 years away from breeding, but they're putting on size and getting there. So they're just a cool fish to have. They're definitely not money making fish. You could be breeding angelfish and make way more money in the time that it takes to breed these guys, but I just love the plecos at the moment because they're so cool looking. And then in the tank over are my favorite plecos. These are the L333 Leopard frog plecos. I've got 8 of these guys in this aquarium. Super cool. They look absolutely amazing. They love coming out. They're always looking for food when I'm around, and they're getting very big. So I've had these guys for a few months now. They've been growing out about as long as the L201s that I just showed you have been. They're a super cool pleco. I can't wait for these guys to get bigger because they look so cool when they get big. Yes, they have a lot of luster when they're small, but when they're big, they just look absolutely crazy. So when they get big, they'll also make a few more babies for me to look at, and yeah, I'm just really looking forward to them, you know, starting to become a little bit more prolific. So there they all are. They absolutely love rapashi grub pie. They love a bit of zucchini as well, some green beans every now and then. But I've been feeding these guys quite a bit of meat lately, just to try and get them to fatten up a little bit more. And in this tank, we've got my pair of Peppermint Bristlenose Plecos. Now these guys are the L183s, I believe. They're Peppermint Bristlenose, they're not Starlights, because they don't keep that white on the back of their tail when they're older like they are now. So these guys were sold to me as a breeding pair. Now, they haven't done any breeding yet, but also the prolific angelfish have not done any breeding yet. So there's a female up the back, male in here. I've been giving them a ton of meaty foods, and I've also been giving them lots of RO water to try and stimulate that rainfall. One recent thing that I just did yesterday was add some ditherfish in, because I want to see if the ditherfish makes a difference to them spawning. So up here I've got 10 green neon tetras, which I'm growing out because they're very small, to start breeding in the future as well, because these guys can be prolific and also can make a little bit of money for me to supplement how much this hobby's costing me right now. So hopefully both of these guys start to get in the mood and lay some eggs. These guys will probably these green neon tetras will probably take maybe another month to a month and a half before they're at breeding size, but they've been eating a ton of brine shrimp, and they're a super cool fish. A lot of people know about them but don't keep them because they do go up into that like second price bracket. They're not as cheap as the neon tetras, and the only difference is they're green, not red. So super cool fish. A lot of nerds like me love to keep these kind of oddball different fish, and we'll be happy to pay the price, but you know, your regular consumer doesn't really care too much, so they'll just buy the cheap neon tetras. But these are very cool as well. And then down here we've got some very common boys, and these are my Panda Corydoras. So they've been growing up as well. I don't know how long they are till they're breeding, probably very soon, but they're still very small. They're eating the same as all my other Corydoras, so tons of little pellets and frozen bloodworms, and every now and then I give them some blackworms as a treat just to see if they start to spawn for me. But super cool. Very common. They look a lot like the Bandit Corydoras I showed you at the start of the video, but they're not Bandit Corydoras. I think I've got 10 of these guys, maybe 11, I'm not too sure, but quite a few in here, so they need a bit of sand as well. because none of my tanks have sand yet, so we'll get some sand for these guys soon and they'll settle in very, very well. And then in here we've got some Trilineatus Corydoras. So these guys, like I've showed you at the start of the video, have been laying a few eggs, and this mop I think would still have a few eggs, so you guys can see some eggs there in the middle of the screen, but they have not been nearly as prolific as I need them to be, and they need to start making a ton of eggs. So apparently these guys are super easy to breed later on. They're super excited all the time, which I absolutely love seeing, just really active fish, because that's how you know they're healthy. No, they're not stressed because they've been in this tank for ages now, like nearly a month. So they're not stressed, they're just super like active, and they were doing this at home as well. So they're a real cool looking fish. They can be mistaken for being the Julii, and they're definitely not the Julii. The Julii look a little bit different, and in previous videos I was corrected. I thought they were Julii. They're definitely not Julii. They're a very rare fish, the Sterbai Corydoras. So these guys are a lot more common, but are quite often sold as Julii, but they're not. Up here we have a pair of Peruvian Altum Angelfish. These guys are not a breeding pair. I'm waiting to get a few more of these guys from my local fish store, because I had an accident with these guys. If you guys watched my last video, I talked about that, so I'm not going to talk about that again. But these guys have been doing very, very well. They've settled into this aquarium pretty well. I don't think there's a male and a female here. I think we've got maybe both males. Maybe they'll start to breed. I highly doubt it. I need a few more of these guys to get a breeding pair, but they're a super cool fish. They're just in here. They're just in here with some common Bristlenose Plecos, which you can see right there, and a cave, so hopefully they breed as well. But I definitely need a few more of these guys. They're super, super cool. And then up in my L397 tank, I have a few Cardinal Tetras, which I'm growing out to start breeding very soon as well. These guys are still very small. They need a lot more brine shrimp and stuff like that just to fatten them up and get them into breeding behaviors and moods, and get them, the females, making some eggs. But down below, we've got some L397 Plecos. Now these guys hide all day. It's really hard to see them. You guys can see a tail right there in the middle of the screen, a tail here, and that's about it. These guys are very close to breeding age. I don't know how long I'm gonna have to wait until these guys start breeding, but I've got 10 of these guys. They're pretty common around in my area. A lot of people have them. But they look super cool. They look really, really good when they're young, but as they get older, they start to lose a bit of that like luster, and they start to lose all of their really good looks that a lot of people buy them for. So they become a bit dull, but that's also when they start to make a ton of fry, and I'm really looking forward to that. And then this is my L333 tank. I've got 6 of these guys growing out. They hardly ever come out. These guys are so shy. These again are a high Pansistrus. I'm sorry for the footage, they're just super hard to find and see. They love high flow, as you can see. I've got tons of flow going in this tank. You can see the silhouette of one right in that log, but that's about it. They're very similar to the L201s that I showed you earlier on in the video. They're a high Pansistrus, so they eat lots of meat, and these guys are just growing out for me as well. Down here is a fish that's super cool that a lot of people don't see very often. These are long fin Panda Corydoras. So I've got some of these growing out as well. I've got a lot of stuff growing out, so hopefully a lot of this stuff becomes in production and starts producing within the next 6 months. These guys, super cool. They're just a Panda Cory, but with the long fin, so a lot of people haven't seen these guys. Well, maybe have, I don't know, but I just haven't seen them around in my area very often. So super skittish compared to some of the other Corys I've seen, but they do look really, really cool. So I've got 7 or 6 of these guys, I'm not too sure. They were a bit pricey, but definitely worth it. Fish surprise stuff. There is a leaf full of Apistogramma orange flash Cacatuoides right there, which I'm going to have to harvest in a sec after this video is done, but that leaf is covered with them, so that female's been productive as well, making a ton of babies, so I'll have to go collect them after this video is done. But anyways, this is my Apistogramma Cacatuoides orange flash tank, so I don't know where the male is. She's probably scared him off. There's a female in this cave, and they've been producing a ton of stuff. I mean, like, very prolific. Super impressed with these guys. But yeah, there's that female up the back. Now, it's hard to focus on them because the tank is not doing me any justice. But you guys can kind of see her with all of her fry. And here's that orange flash male for you guys to look at because of how good he looks. So he's been scared away by that female. She doesn't want him near the fry, but super cool. He's got that little goatee mustache under him, which I absolutely love. Super cool looking Apistogramma Cacatuoides. I can't wait to get some of these guys out because I know you guys are going to absolutely love to see some of that beautiful colour in your tank. A super, super cool fish. And these are some Similis Corydoras. So these are often referred to as the smudge cory. I've got a colony of 6 of these guys growing out. You've seen these plenty. Super, super timid fish. I hardly ever see these guys swimming around unless I catch them off guard. They're always still when I'm around, but super cool looking Corydoras. They have that violet smudge on the back of them, so they look a little bit like a Trilineatus, but they have that violet colour on the back, which makes them a little bit more pricey. And these are also a tad bit trickier to breed from what I've heard, so pretty keen to get these guys going as well. I don't know what's going to be the trigger. I think lots of cold water changes and meaty foods will do the trick with these guys, but who really knows. And then here are my red devil angelfish grow outs. So these guys, I've got 8 of them. They're meant to be red devils. They just look like kois at the moment, and I'm colorblind. I've said it heaps, and I can't tell whether these guys are red, so they look pretty yellow. Maybe they'll get a bit more red in the future, but I'm not too concerned right now. Very, very timid when the camera's around, but when I'm around, they don't really care too much. They just hate the camera. But they've been putting on a ton of size. Because of how bright these guys are, they are a bit hard to pick up on camera, but they look a lot like a koi. They're just meant to be red, so hopefully we get males and females in here. I mean, that one kind of looks a bit more red than a koi, but I'm honestly not too sure. You guys have to let me know. Up here is a tank full of blue star endlers. I've been breeding these guys up in their millions pretty much. There's just hundreds and hundreds of these guys around at the moment in my fish room. You guys have seen these before. Super cool looking fish. I pretty much have tried to breed them to have that double veil tail, which seems to be working, so super happy with that. There's also a pair of common Bristlenose Plecos in here as well. A cool fish that you guys probably never see is these Longnose whiptail cats. These guys are super, super, super cool. I've absolutely loved keeping these guys at the moment. They're kind of like a bristlenose, but they're just long and they look really, really freaky. They look like little sharks, but a lot of people reckon they look really weird. I think they look perfectly cool. They're like a bit of an oddball fish. They can get quite big, so they're not good for nano tanks, but they're good for that medium-sized tank, like a 4-foot tank or bigger is pretty optimal for these guys. I've got them in a 2-foot growing out, but they will go on a 4-foot when they get a little bit bigger. But they've been eating a ton of super green, some algae wafers, some beans, some zucchini and all that kind of stuff. I'm not going to try too hard to show you guys these ones, but these are just some marble angelfish that I'm growing out, just to vary up the species of angelfish that I'm breeding in the fish room, because I don't want to just breed one of like 100 of one thing. I want to breed tons and tons of different variants of things. So these guys, they don't get too much light because the light's up here and I need to put another one up here, so you can't get too much of a good look at these guys, but they're kind of similar to the black ones. They just have a bit more white and orange on them, and the other ones are just fully black. Here is my Apistogramma Cacatuoides male Diesel. If you guys have been around for ages, you would know Diesel by now. He's in there. There's the females in there too. I think they've been spawning. I'm honestly not too sure. He's kind of slowed down as he's gotten a bit older. He's nearly 1.5 years old now, so quite old for an Apistogramma. He's been one of my favourite fish. I've kept him for, yeah, like I said, like 1.5 years, and I've wanted this fish since I was a little kid, and I finally got it and bred them up in their hundreds, and it was just super, super satisfying to do because I wanted to do it for so long. So hopefully they make a few more fry for me, but honestly I'm not too concerned because I've got a few more of these guys growing up for his kids are going to start breeding very, very soon, but super cool fish. And here is a colourful tank if you guys wanted to see it. Here is some of the Neon Tetras that I kept from my Neon Tetra breeding series. These guys I will be breeding very, very soon. I've got some tanks setting up with some peat so these guys can start to breed, because I need a few of these guys just to fill up a few of my tanks with ditherfish. They're also in here with some orange Venezuelan cories, which are up the back, as you can see. They kind of look like a bronze cory, except they cost 15 times more. Super cool fish nonetheless, but nothing too special about them. They have a lot of personality compared to other fish, and they don't get scared easily, but they've been doing really well in this tank with all these Neon Tetras. And then final tank is this gold laser Corydoras tank with 7 or 6 very, very shy gold laser Corydoras. I had 1 or 2 of these guys die on me as I moved them into the new fish room, but since then we've been doing very, very well. These guys have been super happy and swimming around when I'm not around. Super cool looking fish. They don't come out very often in this fish room. I got better looks at them in the previous tank that they were in because they were kind of forced to the front in that tank, but in here they just hide around in the tank a lot. You can see the reflection of one right there. And then for all you nerds who care enough, the way this room works is there's the central heating aircon in here, and I've also got an RO, reverse osmosis water system in here just for spawning a lot of the dwarf cichlids because they need it, which fills up in this tank as you can see. New water is pumped in through these taps and overflows out the back. That's how my water change system. That's how the auto water change system works. We've got central air system, which is very, very useful. And yeah, this room's doing very well at the moment. So some brine shrimp hatcheries here, the fry system. I'm just super satisfied with where this room has come from, because if you look at it from the start, I mean, a lot of people would have never pictured what I've made of it. So I'm super happy with that. And that is pretty much going to wrap this video up. Thank you so much for watching it, guys. I really do appreciate it. And I'll see you guys in the next one.